zipping through the streets on something rather sleek. Here's your look at the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, the Flash movie, Batcycle. The Batcycle pushing the boundaries of vehicular technology. The Batcycle gives Batman the immense power, speed, and tactical weaponry required to tear through the streets of Gotham City in pursuit of his targets. We're going to start things off first by bringing back the camera just a little bit because we're going to want to bring in the Michael Keaton Batmobile that we looked at in the earlier review for vehicle comparisons. But before we get down to the details on Ben Affleck's Batcycle, I'd also like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did make this review possible by sending over the sample that we're about to have a look at. I'm also going to grab the tape measure as I did before when we looked at the Batmobile. It's going to be a lot smaller of a vehicle, mind you, but still the Batcycle is pretty impressive in size. It's about 12 inches in length. Or I would say it's about 30 centimeters long. Yeah, nothing can really compare you with the size of the Batmobile until you actually have one in front of you. To bring in the Batmobile and then to bring back in the Batcycle. The Batcycle in this case is only about 2/3 the length of the Batmobile. Still a pretty impressive vehicle though when it's all said and done. And of course, if you guys want to see what the Batcycle looks like with the Ben Affleck Batman, here you go as well. We're eventually going to actually have this guy mounting on top of the bike, but we'll do that more in a moment. Sorry, by the way, if I just keep calling this the Ben Affleck Batman and then calling Michael Keaton. This is the first time ever we've actually had ourselves a Batman movie where two different actors have come back to reprise their roles. Two, as far as I know. I can't suspect that we're going to be getting ourselves a Bale appearance. Maybe you never know. Maybe Bale, raspy voice and all, may just appear for a quick cameo. But right now, we've got two Batmen that we're aware of. And here's, of course, what Ben Affleck's Batman looks like along with the Batcycle. We're going to put him on top of it in a moment. But first, let's go pick this up. It's got a lot of hard plastic being used here. In fact, while it's not obviously as heavy as the Batmobile because the Batmobile's got mass to it, I think on a standpoint of what its size is, there seems to be a lot more weight going on with this vehicle than there was with, say, the Batmobile. It does have two large tires parallel to one another that roll here on the front, and there's also one large tire that rolls on the back. The initial images that we actually saw of this had the stuntman driving around. There was only just stills, but what was rather funny is it looked like these front tires are actually fake in the movie. And an actual real motorbike tire was actually inside of it, and that was the thing that was spinning. Go back and actually check the images. You'll see what I mean. Obviously, they would digitally remove the middle tire and then just have the front tires actually be things that actually would spin. The tires themselves, while parallel to one another, they actually seem like they're not a rubber material, but they do feel like they're maybe softer plastic. It's definitely more of a rubberiness to them. The back tire also is the same thing as well, although, again, you can't squeeze it like you would, say, a rubber tire, but there's definitely like a little bit more of a softer element of plastic being used here. The main body of the bike is mostly done here in gray. Looking at it, it looks sort of a combination between something that's realistic that Ben Affleck's Batman would be driving around in, but it also kind of looks a little bit like something you would see from Tron. A more souped up version of a light bike. One thing also with Ben Affleck's version of Batman is that he loves firepower. So you can see that there's actually turrets on either side of it. I would imagine he's probably going to be using these in the movie. And these are all cast, by the way, in black plastic and sort of encased inside of an off-gray plastic that they would have used. It actually kind of looks like the bike is being used with two different types of gray. The main, more medium gray, kind of making up the majority of its body. But then you kind of got these parts that are kind of a, what would you say, like an off greenish gray almost? You also have that same sort of gray that's being used here to the front. I can't even imagine how this guy would be able to steer this, but I also thought the same way as well with Bale's Batman trying to drive around in the tiny little bat pod. How would he even be able to steer back and forth with this? There doesn't seem to be, from what I can see at least, obviously you guys can see as well, there doesn't seem to be actually a control pad, anything that he's actually turning on and off, unless a lot of it is maybe in the back here of the bike, but it doesn't look like there's actually anything that would serve as a computer screen, unless it's something that appears here, and it's only something that's going to maybe appears like one of those little floating screens. Obviously the handles are on either side, so Batman's going to be holding on to those that way. And there are, of course, then struts on the back that Batman can rest his boots against. It's a nice detailed looking bike for what it is. Again, it's really a lot of the same grays and blacks kind of making up the majority. That's really the stuff that this version of Batman is all about, grays and blacks, even like his Batmobile with mostly a gray and black Batmobile. A nice little touch of detail I also like. And even though we don't have yet the chance to see the movie, it looks like there's almost like a little turbine engine on the inside of the bike. Maybe that's the thing that actually drives its power. But again, it's overall a nice looking bike. It doesn't necessarily need itself like a support strut. I mean, obviously, when it came to me spinning this around on the turntable, this thing was going to be moving around a lot for me. So what I ended up just doing was I grabbed myself one of the Movie Maniac display stands. This just happened to be Ted Lasso's. And I actually just put it underneath the bat bike just so it would actually rest it. So it wouldn't shift around when it was spinning around on the turntable. But let's go ahead and take ourselves Ben Affleck. We'll take Batman here. We're just going to bend his knees. Oops. Not bend the knees and pop his leg off in the process. It just sits on a ball joint. So we're going to go ahead and pop that back into place. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and move his arms forward as well. Get him in, obviously, the position that you would want to get in if you were going to be getting on top of a bike. Then rest the figure on top of it. And again, like I had said before when we looked at the Batmobile, for example, I'm glad to see now I see why they decided to give these guys cloth capes. Just, it's a lot easier when it comes to putting these guys. While this guy isn't going to be sitting inside of a bat bike, for example, to have him actually on top of the bike. Now, again, I don't even know. From what I'm gathering is he looks like, first of all, we're going to just take the hands. We're going to attach them onto the side of the handlebars here. And I don't know if he's actually going to be riding it more leaning forward like this, or if he's going to be more upright. I feel like for the sleekness of the bike, he's going to be more inclined to lean forward. And luckily, the length of his cape, I don't think it's going to be one that's going to get caught in the tire. Because that was always the thing I worried about when Bale's Batman, for example, was driving around in the Batpod. How is his cape never getting caught in the tires? But I think when it comes to posing this guy, even though he does have really the sections to hold his feet down below, I almost feel like this guy would be riding it low like this, parallel to the front of the bike. And of course, this is going to be the way I'm going to display the figure. You can choose for yourself if you want to have the legs actually more straight, resting down below. But I think in a case when it comes to Batman being displayed on my shelf, I think I would much rather the idea of actually having him a little bit lower like this. I don't even know what he's actually looking at. There doesn't seem to be, again, any applied stickers or anything really to indicate a screen that he's actually looking at. Unless, like I said, it's going to be something that's going to be projected there on the top of the bat bike. Just again, to show you guys what it looks like from the front here. Yeah, it's a cool looking bike. And it, again, it works with the color motif of what Affleck's Batman's all about. He likes the grays, he likes the blacks, and that carries over really nicely here for a bat bike. How much actual screen time it's going to get in the movie, we'll only know again when the movie actually airs. If it's anything from what we've heard with Affleck's Batman, it's going to be a very short amount of time that this version of Batman and this version of Batbike will actually appear in the Flash movie. Who would have really thought this as well, that the one-time Batman, this version of Batman, at least finally gets himself a Batcycle. It's not in his own movie. Oh no, unfortunately that never ended up happening. But rather instead, it's a cameo in another superhero movie. All this talk again about Batmans, we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is actually a Flash movie. I'm actually more looking forward to seeing the movie to see Michael Keaton, his Batmobile, and see Ben Affleck come back for the Cape Crusader one last time, and him zipping around the streets on a Batcycle. And honestly, like, Flash is the last thing I'm thinking about when it comes to this Flash movie. Isn't that interesting? The last thing that we're all thinking about, at least I'm thinking about when it comes to a Flash movie, is literally the Flash. Either way, I like the design of this Batcycle. I'm not sure how practical it serves. I mean, obviously from the stills that we've seen of the movie, the front tires don't actually work. It's sort of an inside tire sandwiched in between, like fake tires. But obviously those tires are really going to be spinning in the movie, along with the gun turrets that he has on either side of it. Very much a dangerous looking Batcycle. Certainly not something you'd ever expect Adam West's Batman to be driving around with. You imagine a little Robin on the sidecar and he's got big giant gun turrets. That never would happen in that universe of Batman, but it certainly would happen in Ben Affleck's version of the Cape Crusader. Still, it's sad to think that this is the last time where we're literally going to be getting ourselves Ben Affleck coming back as Batman. I mean, again, the fact that he finally gets the screen time to show off another Bat toy of his, and again, for what little time there's probably going to be him appearing on screen, I'm just going to enjoy it for while it lasts, and then again, just remind myself that it's going to be a Flash movie. What do you guys think of the Batcycle? Pretty cool looking vehicle for Batman. Do you guys prefer this one, or do you prefer the Batpod? Honestly, the Batpod was never my thing. I never really got the idea of a big giant tire on the front, a big giant tire on the back. And even though that's essentially what we're getting here with the Batcycle, I like the look of it looking more like a cycle and not just this strange thing that Batman's driving around with a very long cape. How it never got caught in the back tires is beyond me. Big thank you once again to the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide this sample of the brand new Flash movie Batcycle that we could have a look at this review. What do you guys think of the vehicle? Let me know down below in the comment section. You know what? Even though the Flash movie isn't out yet, I'm going to throw this out to you guys. You guys can feel free to let me know down below in the comment section. Do you prefer Batman to have more a practical or more considered a Batcycle, or do you like the Batpod? I don't personally like the Bat Pod myself, but do you like the look of this, or do you like the look of the Bat Pod? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys enjoyed this video, want to hit it with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and on board to see more, because we are, after all, still going to be looking at some Flash toys, thanks to the folks over at McFarlane Toys. But make sure that you're not missing out on any of that by hitting that subscribe button down below, and by also making sure that you're turning on the bell notification so you're going to get reminders every single time a new video posts. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.